Okay, Rachel, we're live. How are you?
Hi. Yeah, good. Thank God. Fine. How are you?
I'm good. It's been a long day. I'm glad it's nearly over. It's
Thank you for
very hot
inviting me.
also. I find it very hot today. Yesterday
Right.
was nicer.
Well, I think that it's definitely cooling down. You can feel it even here in Bet Shemesh. We definitely feel that it's cooling down in the evenings.
That's
Finally.
true.
Yeah.
On Motzei Shabbat, it was raining. I was very excited about that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think we've got a while to go until we have the first proper rain, but yeah, it's good.
Yeah, but you know what? One can always dream.
Yeah.
Okay, so for the sake of people who are here on time with us, joining us here, so I suggest we start.
Okay, great.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. My name is Mirit Hoffman. I'm an attorney, and my main focus is elder law, which means basically estate planning, wills, trusts, durable power of attorneys, and I advise also on estate and tax issues, mainly for people who have U.S. and Israeli citizenship. And from exposure with this age group, I realized that there are a lot more important issues, not just legal, that should be addressed and that concern elders. And so I decided to have these little mini discussions with other professionals who also deal with elder people. And today we are talking to Rachel Gordon, who is a gerontology counselor, right?
Yeah, it's said gerontology, it's called in Hebrew. Nobody ever knows what it is.
Okay, well, you're going to tell us now. So, Rachel, please introduce yourself.
Okay, hi, my name is Rachel. I'm a gerontology counselor. I studied gerontology in Machon Be'er in Yerushalayim. It was a 2-year course. And gerontology basically is the study of seniors and old people, everything not related to anything non-medical. So I studied that course, and while I was studying, I started working for a private care management company as a care manager for seniors. And it was actually through that job that I got my current job where I'm working at the moment, which is at Mila Bav Day Center for seniors with Alzheimer's and dementia, which is located in Bet Shemesh.
Okay. So you know what? Let's talk a little bit about dementia.
Okay.
Give us a little bit of some sort of background on what are the symptoms or warning signs we should be looking out for after, explain what exactly it is.
Okay. So first of all, I just want to clear up some confusion that I found that a lot of people have regarding dementia, because we talk about, even our center is a center for dementia and Alzheimer's. What is the difference between dementia and Alzheimer's? So I'll just explain it as, dementia is the umbrella term for a range of diseases affecting memory, cognitive issues and behavior that can affect activities of daily living. And so from that umbrella that we call dementia, there are various other diseases. One of them is Alzheimer's disease. One of them is vascular dementia, Lewy body dementia, frontotemporal dementia, and there are some other less common ones. Alzheimer's is definitely the most common, and that's the one that most people seem to have heard of. Alzheimer's, if I'm correct, it affects about 60% of the people with dementia have Alzheimer's. And Alzheimer's is really characterized by loss of memory, but short-term memory. So, for example, a person will say the same story over and over again. They won't remember where they live. They won't remember who people are. We have clients at the center who every single day say, "Where am I going? They don't remember where they live." And those are behaviors that characterize Alzheimer's, whereas different strands of dementia can really affect behavioral and emotional capabilities in a very, very different way. A 90-year-old with Alzheimer's might still be able to, remember what to use the knife and fork for. They won't have an issue eating. But somebody with, for example, early onset dementia will look at a fork and have no idea what that utensil is used for. You asked about some of the, by the way, dementia is an illness that can be diagnosed by a geriatrician or a neurologist or a psychiatrist. There are certain tests that can be done. And it is very difficult to come to a diagnosis of dementia. It's not like, a broken leg or a heart condition where you go in, have the test, and the diagnosis is made. Because dementia, obviously, it doesn't happen overnight. It's a very, very slow process. And there are some behaviors that people exhibit that are natural with aging. So it's sometimes a little bit tricky to get that dementia and to get that diagnosis. And often people will say, once a diagnosis has been made, oh gosh, that so many things sort of fall into place, and they realize that behaviors that they have been witnessing, I'm talking about partners or caregivers, suddenly become clear to them once a diagnosis has been made.
I'm assuming also at the beginning of dementia, the person who's sick with it will try and cover himself up because he realizes maybe that he might be losing it. So he'll try and, give an explanation, which for the spouse or the caregiver would make sense.
Right. Look, I've read a lot of studies and I've heard a lot of stories about people who are sort of overcompensating and are able to hide their illness so well. They work, even though there's something in their brain that's causing the dementia, they're still able to mask what's going on. And that definitely makes diagnosis harder. Also, very often, depression comes hand in hand. So the person will withdraw from life. And often they'll do that to protect themselves because they're starting, for example, to lose words. And so they feel incredibly uncomfortable in social situations. So they'll just use the excuse of the depression. I don't want to go out tonight. I don't want to have people around. I don't want to go to the supermarket, the park, to work, because they know that they can no longer cope in those situations. So,
right.
Yeah, it's difficult.
Okay. Why is it so important to participate in a program for seniors and their caregivers, like a daycare center, like in general? Why would you?
Okay. Oh, sorry. Just something wrong. I don't know what's going on with my computer. Okay. Why is it important? Look, a lot of people who come to the center, come to Mila Bav, have come from I would call it a very quiet life. They're either living with their partners, or they're living with foreign caregivers, or maybe they're living with their children. And very often they're living by themselves with those people. So just try and imagine the scenario. Two elderly people in a home together, or a person who's been diagnosed with dementia with their caregiver in an apartment together. It's very, very quiet. There's not much going on during the day. There's not many interruptions. It could be that family members are popping in, but people are popping in for short, periods of time. Whereas a day center offers stimulation that will affect all of the senses. There's noise, there's people, there's smell, there's color, there's so much going on. So just being in that stimulating environment is so important for somebody who's experiencing cognitive difficulties, and can really in some ways delay some of the onset of the dementia, and just or even just can prevent sinking further into a depression, because everybody needs a reason to get up in the morning. And once you don't have a reason to get up in the morning, it's just really difficult to maintain, a a good feeling about about your day. And so coming to a day centre gives somebody a purpose in life. Our day centre, Mila Bav, is, as I've said, specifically geared towards people with dementia. And what that means is that everybody is assessed before. You don't just walk in one day to the next to a day centre. There's an assessment that goes on. I do the assessments, and their needs are really assessed and met. So I can give you an example. We had one client who was, I would say, maybe at the beginning of their dementia journey, and who was very unsettled. He was very, very dependent on his wife, and was with his wife outside of the centre all the time, 24 hours a day. So once she left him, it was very difficult for him. And then after conversations with the family members, we found out that he played the violin. So one day we asked him if he would like to bring his violin into the centre, and he did. And he came the next day, and he started playing for everybody. So it's really, we really try and provide individualised care for each person, which makes their experience of being in the centre so much more meaningful and enjoyable for them. And all the activities that we provide are so enriching for all the clients. I mean, every single day we have a chair yoga exercise, which is run by a fantastic therapist. We have music every day, and we have small groups. People are divided according to cognitive level, and they partake in cognitive exercises that challenge and stimulate their brains, each according to their own level. And there are several different levels within the centre. So just on a sort of it's a very stimulating place to be compared to being at home without a routine. There's also other things that we provide which are really important, like food, like nutritious food. We're making sure that breakfast and lunch is served, and in our afternoon programme also a dinner. And then just the thing that I like the most is that the staff in the centre are so warm and incredible, and just you cannot underestimate the power of even touch. I mean, it was difficult during Corona, but now just even like helping somebody up and touching their arm or like stroking their shoulder. Some people go through the day and no one ever touches them. And I think for somebody with dementia, it's very reassuring.
That sounds amazing. You told me when we had this discussion before, you discussed somebody about a chavruta, remember? And I thought that would be lovely.
Yeah. So that's really, I mean, look, there are many moments for me that are incredibly rewarding. And we have, I'm just going to change like some details slightly, just obviously to protect client's identity. But we have one client who actually has an early onset dementia, and he's only in his 60s. And we found it initially quite difficult to find out what he liked to do. And one day during one of the sessions, he started quoting Pirkei Avot. And we realized that he had he still retained a lot of information, like Torah information. So we reached out to the community. Mila Bav is located in the community of Bet Shemesh, in the residential area, and it's very much a communal centre. We have a lot of support from the community before Corona, and now we're slowly reintroducing volunteers from the community. Anyway, we were able to reach out to the community, and we found a chavrusa for him. And he comes in a couple of times a week and sits and learns with him. And actually, it was so moving because I once took a photo at the first time they sat together, and they were really, really learning Mishnayot. And I sent it to his wife, and she was just speechless because for her, she was dealing with this young husband who has dementia. And she hadn't even thought, oh, yes, maybe he's still able to do, to learn. And she was so grateful to us that we were able to provide this to him, with, again, giving him like a sense of respect and really keying into something that he was still able to do. And we will hold on to that for as long as possible.
That's amazing. Tell us a little bit more about Mila Bav. I mean, is it only for Anglos? Is it the Tea Day Center? Where is it located apart from Bet Shemesh? Give us a little bit more. And also, there's something about Pe'ima, if you can also touch a little bit about that.
Okay, fine. So I'll give you a little bit of background about Mila Bav. So Mila Bav has 4 centers, 3 in Jerusalem and 1 in Bet Shemesh. We're located on Rachov Asher in Givat Sharet. We are, I think the Bet Shemesh Center has been open for about 17 years, which is incredible. I haven't been there for that long. Our director, Shoshana Lichtman, has run Mila Bav and is incredibly dedicated and really fantastic boss and cares so much about the clients. We're open 5 days a week, Sunday through Thursday. The clients who attend, the majority of them come on the van. We have transportation, including wheelchair transportation for those in wheelchairs. And the program runs from about 8:30 to 1:30. Twice a week, we have an afternoon program. I think in the center in Jerusalem, they have every day an afternoon program. And we have clients who speak English, Hebrew, French. And our program is really it's a bilingual program. It's run in both Hebrew and French. Hebrew and English, not French, Hebrew and English. I think there are Russian-speaking groups in the centers in Jerusalem also. And like I said, we provide music and exercise and art therapy and occupational therapy. We have an occupational therapist on staff, and the staff are all highly trained and able to. What I think is most amazing about our staff is that they're really able to. They treat everybody with respect. Every single client is treated with respect and receives the care and attention that they need. It's a real individualized. They really look to see what the needs are of each client and aim to provide, the best experience possible for them. You mentioned Pe'ima, which is a program that was started in Mila Bav in Jerusalem for adults with early onset dementia, people in as young as 50, in the 50s and 60s. And that currently takes the form of a special program which runs in the Israel Museum, where the group goes to the Israel Museum and meets with one of the staff in the Israel Museum, and they run a whole therapeutic program there, which is really incredible for people with early onset dementia. We also have Mila Bav at home services. There are some people who cannot, for whatever reason, get out of the home, and so Mila Bav will send therapists into the home to do whatever is required for that person. So it could be occupational therapy or physical therapy or the whole range of cognitive therapies as well. And that's an in-home service.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about support groups? Do you offer support?
Yes, so support groups also. I have run in the past support groups mainly for spouses. But please God, we hope to start a new group after the Hagim for spouses, and we have also on the cards a group for children of parents who have dementia. Yeah, and that's been really great because in Corona we switched the group that was meeting weekly to Zoom, and it just makes it really convenient. And for people who would otherwise feel uncomfortable to come to a support group, I think the option of doing it online from the comfort of their own homes has proven to be very successful.
Do you find those people feeling like guilty? Do you find they feel guilty for needing a support group or for feeling whatever it is that they're feeling? Or even if it's hard for them, do they feel guilty that they feel that it's actually difficult for them? Because it must be extremely difficult, emotionally and physically, to watch, to
Absolutely.
care for your beloved and to watch him or her deteriorate in that way.
Yeah. Look, my sort of the thing that I always try to focus on the most is the fact that the person with dementia, if they're living in a functional family or home situation, they will always receive the care that they need, and that care will be enhanced if they're able to attend a day centre or have help at home. But very often it's the caregivers themselves who are forgotten, and they are living under enormous stress. And as you say, a lot of guilt. We recently had a client who just felt so terrible leaving her husband, until I pointed out to her that she needed a break, a really needed a desperate break. So those 5 hours in the morning, or whatever, 5-6 hours in the morning, gave her a chance to unwind, go for a swim, meet with friends, go to the supermarket, even just be in the house by herself and not be worrying about her partner, about her husband the whole time. And often it takes somebody else, somebody who's outside of the picture, to make people realize that they're able to do it and that they should be doing it. And I have found time and time again that caregivers, the guilt that they feel is so intense that they can't give themselves a break. And it needs someone like a gerontology counselor or a social worker or somebody, in the field, to say to them, no, it's okay. We can look after your whoever, partner, father, mother now, and you can go and do something for yourself, because caregiver burnout is really common, and it's a really serious problem. And I have found from running the support groups that the support that they're able to give each other also is enormous, because many people tell me that their friends who have never experienced living with anyone with dementia, or even haven't had any first-hand experience of it, they're all kind and good and nice, but they don't really know what the person's going through. Whereas our team, we see it, we understand the disease, and so we're able to provide, first of all, validation for their feelings, and to provide a support system for them. I also want to say that there's been a few times where I've run family meetings for the extended family, and I think if there's anybody out there who's listening who is in this situation, I think a really important step, and one that I would really strongly advise, is to have a family meeting about what is going on, and bring the subject up, and allow everyone in the family to say where they're feeling and where they're holding, and then work out practical steps of how to how you're going to deal with this as a family, because the person who the partner or the child, they can't do it on their own. You need a system. And I really believe that Mila Bav provides a very, very supportive framework for all of our clients, many of whom have really used our services, and are grateful for them, because it's a safe place where they feel they can really be heard and understood.
Okay. What's the procedure? Like, how do people sign up? When should they start thinking, or when should one of the spouses start thinking of, oh, this may be a good idea for me, for you, for whoever? How does it work?
Okay, so procedurally, there are 3 basic ways that you can attend the centre. Okay, you know what, I'm going to start. Somebody who's interested in coming to the centre, generally what happens is I'll get a call from a family member, they've heard about us, they want to come and see it. So everybody is always invited for a free trial day to come to be at the centre. They come with their families. They have to come with a family member, and they see how it goes. And often they'll say straight away, "Wow, this was great! Like he's been sleeping all day for weeks, or he only wakes up usually at 11 o'clock because he sleeps. Or he takes cat naps all during the day. And look, he didn't fall asleep the whole morning." And people have they're initially amazed by how their family member reacts. Obviously, that doesn't happen all the time, and some people it may take them a while to realize that this is the place that they want to be. And then once the person decides, then we sit and we take a full assessment, and we fill in some forms and get a doctor's letter, and just that's all part of the bureaucracy. In terms of payment, the Bituach Laumi, if people have Chok Siud, which is a grant from Bituach Laumi, it's based on age. So it's if you are 62 for a woman or 67 for a man, then you're eligible for Chok Siud. It's also it's not just based on age, it's based on income and your abilities in your ADLs, your activities of daily living. Bituach Laumi awards you hours, and those hours can be used to pay to come to the centre, and they basically cover everything, the transport, the food, all the activities, everything. If somebody, for whatever reason, doesn't have the Chok Siud, they can pay privately. In the Bet Shemesh Centre, we have a scholarship fund that was set up, and sometimes we are able to offer that to people who really don't have any financial means to pay for the centre. And we use that sometimes.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Really at the end of our discussion, but I want to end it with a positive note. So tell me what makes your work so meaningful, and give us, share with us some stories that you feel were like, this is why I'm doing this.
Okay, so look, I mean, the work is hard. I would say that the work can sometimes be hard. It is sometimes, often actually, devastating to see what this disease can do. But there are always moments that you just get such a high. We have one client who we discovered quite early on that she loves the Beatles, and she loves listening to the Beatles. So we, whenever we can, and if it fits in with the schedule, so we play music and we always dance. And she's usually a little bit reluctant to participate in activities, but when we get up to dance, she's so happy and she's so smiling. And I always wish at those moments that all her family would be there to see it, because they're dealing with so many difficult things, but she at that time and in that place is the happiest person, and laughing and remembering things from a long time ago, and it's just really, really wonderful. And other little things that I feel like you can't overestimate the importance of being able to understand a person who's going through this. And when you do, the family members, they're just so grateful that we're there for them and that we support them. And it just really, really makes me realize how important the job is, how important everybody on the staff is doing such an incredible job. And it is very, very rewarding at the end of the day, even though, it's difficult. It's a difficult area, but it's very, very rewarding. There are so many like breakthrough moments that you just see, like as I'm sitting in my office and I look over to the floor and what's going on. And, all those little conversations that somebody will have with a staff member, or, doing some arts and crafts and then seeing it with being so proud, or remembering, if they're doing a crossword puzzle, remembering the word, and then they're just so happy with themselves. Lots and lots of really fantastic moments where we're bringing, a lot of pleasure to people and making them feel good about themselves.
Definitely, I think that's what you all are doing. I think it's an amazing thing that you all are doing, and I thank you for it. Well, this has been very, very pleasant conversation. And we could probably discuss a little bit more, but it's really time to round it up. So anybody who has more questions about day centers or about Mila Bav, Rachel's number is down on the screen. You can also send us a comment through Facebook, and we'll make sure that it gets to Rachel, or we'll reply on the Facebook page. So thank you all for listening, and have a Gmar Chatima Tova, and whoever's fasting, have a meaningful fast. And I will see you in my next live. Good night, Rachel. Thank you so
very much. Thanks so much, Mirit. Be well. Bye.